Greetings sailors, and welcome to the first of my ring challenge videos, which for this first one was to get 5 defense flags. I didn't quite manage it all in one go, as we shall see, but it was somewhat smooth sailing. I mean, it's not a difficult challenge, let's be honest. But for a good player like me, I mean, in fact, if I weren't quite so humble, I might even say a frankly downright amazing player like me, it obviously would have been, you know, a child's play to get it all in one go, but I felt that was a bit too easy, so I did decide to stretch it out over 2 games. So there's my first 3 from that North Carolina. There is something else capping that I cannot spot. I maybe could have chosen to shoot at the Galissoniere, but instead I decided, as I've said, that well, it wasn't a great match overall, so I would try and have a better one to follow it up with. To be honest, I probably could have carried this. I mean, looking at how many ships we have left and how many ships the enemy team has left, it maybe seems a little improbable, but no, I can assure you, I definitely could have carried this. It's just, I simply chose not to. Yes. Yes, you'll believe that, right? Sure you do, of course you do. I'm so humble and honest, I would never lie about a thing like that. So I am about to come a cropper, unfortunately. Although really I was just being generous and giving that Kiev player an extra kill. I just wanted to give them a shot at a Kraken, because, you know, they were doing well and I was feeling generous. In this next match, however, I shall not be feeling quite so generous. It's the Edinburgh, and it's a tier 10 game, and that's fine. I've got my smoke, I can sit and plink away and hopefully rack up a decent amount of damage. But you might notice a thing down at the bottom, that I in fact have radar instead of smoke, which the Edinburgh of course has the option of. And you might be thinking to yourself, wait, did Jedi massively derp and think he had the smoke consumable when instead he actually had radar mounted and just forgot about it and hit the battle button? But of course, I am such a good player that I would never do such a thing, and obviously this is in fact all completely intentional and in no way a derp. This play that I'm making right here also is obviously something that only a truly amazing amazing. I didn't say amazing. A decent player. I'm not amazing. I'm far too humble to say I'm amazing. Yes. A good player would, you know, see this opportunity to support the Shimakaze, who is clearly doing some amazing plays there themselves, and approach the cap, which, in the pursuit of defense flags, is actually not a terrible idea if you assume that there are going to be some enemy destroyers here. But as it turned out, the enemy destroyers were very unsporting, and instead it was a pair of enemy cruisers, one of whom is a Des Moines. This was obviously, you know, a very well thought out, a very carefully considered play that the enemy team just decided not to cooperate with, which was very unsporting of them. So at this point I have to bravely run away in the manner of Sir Robin, and well, if I take a bit of damage it's fine, I've got a heal, that's what it's there for. I am managing to do a bit of damage to this Des Moines in return, but fortunately for me, they're not going to be solely focused on me because that Shimmer is about to come round the corner and they pretty much know that they are there. In fact, I think it's the enemy gearing that's going to take them out. So, admittedly, this is not entirely optimal, but, you know, sometimes the enemy team just decides not to cooperate with your carefully thought out plans, and there's really not a lot you can do about it. I have, however, it's important to note, gotten the defense flags that I needed. Now, I could have just stopped the video right here, but as I say, this was quite an interesting game, I thought, and really very carefully considered Unicum use of radar there, as you can see. Yes, not at all me fumbling the keyboard or anything. Yes, this turned out to be otherwise a decent game, as I say, despite being bottom tier, and part of that is going to be down to the radar, which, as I've said, I clearly took entirely deliberately in a very considered fashion. Yes, it was my plan all along. Honestly, it really was. So we've got the middle cap so far, and we have a fair few ships towards the north, so there seems like a chance we can take that northern cap, but we haven't yet, and this puts us in a something of an awkward position right now, especially as we have this Des Moines moving up to the middle. But with my good player skills, not Unicum, no, if I was not so humble I would say Unicum, but obviously I am that humble. I was confident of my ability to dodge out of the way of the Des Moines shells, and they have other things engaging them as well. Although that Neptune is also having a go, but Neptune shells, much like my own shells, don't have a particularly fast velocity, so I'm also not too troubled by those either. I can just easily dodge out the way, and in fact I'm up to not that far off 1 million potential damage without actually having taken that much. I mean, 1/3 of your health isn't much, right? Yeah, it's only like 1/3. I mean, that's practically nothing. So the storm is now closing in. The visibility is going to start dropping. But talking of visibility, yeah, the radar range on this is just about the same as your own surface visibility. And so when I got spotted, it's got to be a destroyer. And as he's broadside, and as these AP shells do nasty things to broadside destroyers, he's going to lose a fair chunk of health here. Now there's no radar mod on this ship, which is purely because I don't have one, and it's definitely not because I normally run smoke and accidentally had radar on for doing operations or anything like that. Or maybe I was just testing. I can't remember. I mean, hypothetically, forget I said anything. Anyway, I've chased him off anyway. He's obviously intimidated by my pro skills. And having knocked a chunk of damage off, well, hopefully they will be a little less inclined to be so aggressive in future. Although, of course, I do have to wait between the cooldown on my my radars. They do seem to have a fairly high surface detection anyway, to be honest. They're not the sneakiest ship. And it also helps if they open fire. Which, yeah, just makes it a bit easier for me. Although they are about to pull into cover of their own smoke cloud, but not before I get a little bit more damage off them. While all this has been going on, the Des Moines actually managed to cap B, and we have also been in the process and have now in fact capped C. A little further on, the Des Moines just pushes forwards for some reason. They're not going to last very long. That is the entire rest of our team they're pushing into. And once they're out of the way, that should leave the middle cap fairly clear. And we're now ahead on points, being ahead on kills, but we do need to get a cap back in order to win this. So this is not there yet, but, you know, give it a bit of time. I also get a bit more damage out of that Des Moines, but sadly not enough to get the kill. So at this stage I thought I would try and be a bit sneaky, help out with the Republic, but I just got spotted, and it's our old friend, the Akizuki. Of course I have to be wary of Akizuki torps, but my Hydro is running, so that will give me a bit of advance warning. The only other enemy ships around, well, we more or less know where they are. Most of them are in the middle, although the Neptune's not been seen in a while. But surely they've come up through the middle as well to support their teammates. Because it would be kind of odd if they'd chased all the way up this side of the map. That would be a bit of a strange move in my view. And obviously not something that I would expect them to do, even though I am, as I've said, quite a good player, but in no way a super amazing turbo pro Unicum player, although some people might say that, but obviously not I. So, yes, there we are, the Neptune, who did in fact decide now was the time to turn up, and as I was about to go around the island and try and tackle the low health destroyer, this was a somewhat unwelcome surprise. But I have gotten a bit more damage out of it. Now I will admit to maybe one tiny slight error at this point. It is possible that I should have kept my guns coming round to get shots off at the low health Akizuki. And instead, well, in between all of the torpedoes coming in and just being shot at by multiple ships, I decided that it would be much safer if I was to hide my ship on the bottom of the seabed, and so chose that option instead, because they can't get you down there. It's a very safe place to be, but this is obviously, you know, a secret tactic that's only known to a few people, so don't go spreading this around. This is just between you and me, right, viewer? We did, of course, go on to win this, all down to my amazing contribution. As we'll see on the score screen, I mean, I must have played amazingly, and it did look like we were in quite a strong position, but it ended up running for the next 6 minutes. We capped the middle. We did lose 1 or 2 ships in the meanwhile, but with the 2 cap circles, and eventually we ended up with getting the A cap as well, we just won on points when the timer ran out. So there we are. I've finished the 5 defender ribbons. In fact, I nearly did it all in one go in this one particular game. And second place on the scoreboard, which was clearly down to my impressive Unicum plays. Or so a less humble person than I might say. Obviously, I would just say merely that I feel like I played okay. That it was, you know, it was a fairly solid, decent match. But a less humble person than I obviously would just tell you how amazing it was. Yes. So that's it for the first challenge. I will, as promised, link a Twitter poll in the description down below and basically list everyone that's taking part, and I'm leaving it up to you guys. Obviously, all of the other contributors are going to vote for me. That's just, you know, a given. But in the spirit of generosity, I'm going to let my viewers decide who you want me to vote for in return. Hopefully, in the meantime, you enjoyed this video. And if you did, you could do all the usual things down below. And, of course, as always, stay tuned for more.